Welcome over to Automotive World, everyone. I am your host, my name is Shree, and tonight we're going to get into one of our top stories coming out from Car and Driver, which they're actually using their news from the Detroit News. General Motors in 2027 is going to reportedly be launching some new plug-in hybrids. We're going to go into this as of why and just kind of give a little bit of reaction to see as to why of this. But General Motors CEO Mary Barra said the company's first plug-in hybrid electric vehicle since the Chevy Volt will arrive over in North America in the next few coming years. So this is going to be a bit interesting. Barrs also said the timing is due to the newly updated federal emission standards, which affect cars and trucks from 2027 to 2032. Those standards, obviously, they've tried to keep a guideline as to move forward with electrification. However, those standards do change quite often, unfortunately. The standards as they are right now also could even change as well. Obviously, as you know, this next coming year is going to be an election year. It will be really interesting politically to see how that affects what their current trajectory is right now. And while GM hasn't revealed any new names of the new plug-in hybrid, they said that they do have the technology, that they are deploying it today in China. And right now they do have the Chevy Equinox over there that would be, that is similar to this vehicle. So it's plausible to think that the Chevy Equinox would be that vehicle that comes over here as a plug-in hybrid. But we're not for sure on this. And they do mention, obviously, it's going to affect both cars and trucks. Obviously, it is safe to assume that they would bring this kind of technology over to their truck market across all of General Motors brands. General Motors, which they say in 2027, according to the CEO in the interview with the Detroit News, has confirmed that that is the expected arrival date, and that the Chevy Volt, which was discontinued in 2019, was essentially right now is the last plug-in hybrid that General Motors had. General Motors they haven't done a lot of plug-in hybrids, especially with things like the Chevy Bolt and all that. That vehicle has really had a rocky life, just with all the battery issues and the recalls and things and the stop sales. This is really, really interesting to see that their new plans, like I said, they don't tell us what it's going to be, what kind of class vehicle it's going to be, but they do say with the current emissions right now, with the updated rules, they do want to cut those tailpipe emissions in half by 2055, and the government will mandate, which will affect cars and trucks starting in 2027 to the model years 2032. Pretty much going through the rest of it, they talk about how plug-in hybrids are important to meet not only the regulatory space, but give consumers more options. And really, I think that's what it comes down to. While it is plausible that the Chevy Equinox plug-in hybrid would be coming over here, currently, right now, it's not confirmed. Currently, General Motors sells two plug-in hybrids in the Chinese market, being the Buick Velite and the Chevy Equinox plug-in hybrid. Like I said, both of those, is it plausible to think, yes, you have a platform that's out, use a vehicle that's out and bring it over to America? It is plausible to think that, but I feel like, especially with just, the market, it's unsure to say, would it come to the SUV or the truck lineup? We're not sure on that. I think more so looking, if I'll have this article linked down in the description below. If you look at really reading this article and just kind of seeing the news and where we are in the automotive landscape, I think really the reason they're bringing this over is, they talk about obviously wanting to cut tailpipe emissions and things like that. They talk about the newly updated federal emission standards. Like I said, especially with an election year right now, with those always changing on the fly depending on which party is in power. I really think this more so comes down to just what we're seeing with electrification. There are a few brands that are seeing increased growth in full EVs. However, if you look at most of those brands, which we've covered in the sales figures, they're usually selling less than like 2,000 to 3,000 units. So they're really not high volume units. Really, I think more so it's just, especially here in America, we're seeing, people go away from the EVs, or, kind of avoiding it altogether and wanting some form of electrification, but not a full EV. for a variety of reasons, whether it's just because of, there's not enough options, the price is too high, maybe it's just not for their lifestyle or politically or however, whatever reasons they choose to feel. I think really more so this is just because, like I said, they're not seeing a lot of success with the EVs, especially when you look at General Motors EVs, whether it's with the Silverado EV, whether it's with, the Hummers or, the Denali's. I think they're just not seeing a lot of sales with the EVs, and seeing that the plug-in, in the hybrid market, both mild hybrid systems and plug-ins are taking just a huge chunk out of it, because you do get, the best of both worlds, in that you get the, you still get the gas engine and the ease of, just being able to go to a gas station and fill up, but you can also get the performance and the fuel efficiency, and sometimes even a little bit of range that, you would get from EVs in the hybrid system. So I really think more so, while they talk about this as, with the newly updated federal emissions and things like that, I really think this is more so just a shift in consumer demand, which they do mention, but they don't mention it too much. I think it's just more so a shift in consumer demand. Especially with the plug-in hybrids, like I said, people wanting to have some form of electrification, but not going fully EV. And so the plug-in hybrid makes a lot of sense, because you still get the gas motor, but unlike a mild hybrid system, having the plug-in hybrid, for a lot of people that live in cities using these vehicles, just use that all-electric range, and you essentially have yourself both an EV and a gas vehicle. So really, I think that's what this comes down to. I don't think this is a controversial move. You could argue this is a bit of a business move as well, just with how much money we know that these automakers are losing on EVs. And it's not just General Motors, it's all of them in general. But I think this is more so just, seeing where the market is. Not even really more so saying, giving the consumer options, but really just seeing where the market is, and where they need to attack. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but with the lack of General Motors, plug-in hybrids, it is going to be a bit interesting to see, how this unfoils and how it turns out. Especially, are the American buyers going to like, having a car that was, you could argue made for the Chinese market coming over here. And especially, like I said, when it comes to the Chevy Bolt, the last plug-in hybrid one was the Bolt, and the Bolt unfortunately had a very rocky life. Most of its life, it was recalled, it was on a stop sale, it was told not to be driven. So it's going to be interesting to see what General Motors does with this. I suspect this is not going to be the first or the last one we're going to see either. I suspect probably within the coming years, before we even get to 2027, we'll see an announcement of new plug-in hybrids from General Motors, both for all of their brands, whether it's for the SUVs and especially the trucks as well. I do suspect that we will see that. So that's kind of gonna do it for now. I just wanted to kind of report on this and just see, like I said, is it plausible that the Equinox and the Buick would come over to the American market? It is plausible, but then also we have to keep in mind at the same time, given that those two vehicles are specifically selling well in that market, even though they are, they could, they have the technology deployed in China, they can still bring that technology over and put it into another model here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, but that's really going to do it for now, everyone. So thanks for watching.